We found 300,000 illegals on Social Security. We got them out. And, things like that make Social Security very, very strong. So, no, I am very big into certain things. And one of those three, you could say three of those things, are Medicare, Medicaid, Social Security. We're going to protect it. And so we'll see how everything works out. If we're talking about rescissions on other things, I'm always open to cost cutting. If we can cost cut, I like it. But nothing's going to happen to medical. We have something coming up, favored nations, where I'm going to be reducing drug prices by 1,500% where a pill that sells in Germany for $10 costs $150 here because of the bad press. And I was all set to do it, and then we had the COVID come up, and I had to focus on that because we had the greatest economy in history my first term. I will tell you that we are going to be doing numbers on the cost of drugs in this country that I'm not talking about a 20% decrease, which would be great. I'm talking about 1,000% decrease. We're talking about where a product would sell for $80 in Germany and $1,300 here. We're not going to do that. We were subsidizing the entire world, and we're not doing it anymore. I informed the drug companies. I informed the world. And if the world wants to, if countries in the world don't want to go along, then I'm going to put tariffs on those countries, and we'll make more money. But they have to go along with it. So this is moving along rapidly. Dr. Oz is in charge, Bobby's group, and they're doing very well. And we're getting great cooperation from the drug, because the drug companies know it's unfair. For years they'd say, well, we had to do research, and we had to do. I said, I don't care. You had to do research for these other countries also. They are ready to go. And I'm ready to go. And if I pull that off, there's no way a Republican will lose an election. There's no way. All right, one more question, Steve.
Steve, back to Ukraine.
What's this guy? He's the nicest guy I know, and he asks the most vicious questions.
Why do you think President Putin is so reluctant to meet with President Zelensky?
Because he doesn't like him. He doesn't like him. They don't like him. I have people I don't like. I don't like to meet with them. Sometimes I do like to meet with people I don't like.
So how do you get them together?
They don't like each other, really. And if we had a real president instead of a guy that got in there with a fraudulent election, if we had a real president, that war would have never happened. Putin actually said, if Trump were president, it wouldn't have happened. Happened for a lot of reasons. Happened because of Afghanistan. When he saw how incompetent Milley was and all these guys were, I think he said, wow, this might be it, because it was the apple of his eye. It would have never happened if I were president.
Mr. President, you have built a relationship with Russian leaders and also North Korean leaders. As they are getting closer, how would that affect your diplomatic approach?
Well, I have very good relationships with Kim Jong-un, North Korea. I mean, a lot of people would say, oh, that's terrible. No, it's good. In fact, someday I'll see him. I look forward to seeing him. He was very good with me. We had 2 meetings. We had 2 summits. We got along great. I know him better than you do. I know him better than anybody, almost, other than his sister. His sister knows him pretty well. No, I know him well, and I got along with him. I'm not supposed to say I really like him a lot, because if I do that, I get killed in the fake news media. But I got along with him very well, and we had no problem. If at the time Hillary Clinton won the election, you would have had a nuclear war. You would have had a nuclear war. We're not going to have a nuclear war. Once that happens, it's over. We're not going to have a nuclear war. No, but Kim Jong-un will meet at some point. I look forward to it, actually. But do you notice that since I came into office, you haven't had a problem with him? Hasn't been, he tests lots of rockets. He does have great capability, I will say that. But I think a lot of good things are happening for our country, a lot of really good things. And the thing we're here today to talk about is crime, and specifically in D.C. I am so proud of what these people, every one of them, what they've done in D.C., because to literally stop crime on a button. I'd walk down that street right now. If I were, friends of mine are going out to dinner now. They haven't gone out to dinner in 4 years. They were afraid. They were petrified. Half the restaurants closed because nobody could go because they're afraid to go outside. Now those restaurants are open, and new restaurants are opening up. It's like a boom town. It's a great thing to see, and I'm very proud of the people behind me. Thank you very much, everybody.
So Trump just wrapped up an executive order signing. Yeah, you know those big fancy ceremonies where the president pretends paperwork is more exciting than Netflix? He talked for over an hour, which is basically CrossFit for anyone's attention span. He says he's cracking down on crime in D.C. and across the country because apparently law and order is not just a television show, it's now his campaign slogan. And if you burn the flag, jail time. Which is ironic because half the protesters can't even afford rent, and now they'll get free housing courtesy of the state. Meanwhile, he's waiting to meet the South Korean president. This comes after South Korea had its own constitutional crisis because apparently political chaos is the new K-pop export. And on the agenda, tariffs, China, North Korea. In other words, just your standard 3 things that keep international diplomats awake at night, starter pack. But don't worry, we're all over it. Which is exactly what people say right before they realize they're not. So Trump hops on Truth Social because of course he does and says what's happening in South Korea seems like a purge, a revolution, which is Trump's speak for. I saw half an article and now I'm an expert. He adds, we can't have that and do business there. Translation, chaos is fine, but only if it's made in America. And then he reminds us very politely, I am seeing the new president today at the White House. Thank you, as always, for your attention to this matter, which sounds less like a presidential statement and more like the world's weirdest customer service email. Meanwhile, at his executive order signing, he says the administration will start cracking down on burning the American flag because nothing says land of the free quite like telling you what you can't set on fire. Honestly, at this rate, marshmallows are next.
What the penalty is going to be, if you burn a flag, you get 1 year in jail, no early exits, no nothing. You get 1 year in jail. You don't get 10 years, you don't get 1 month. You get 1 year in jail, and it goes on your record.
So Money Man Payne kicks it off, saying South Korea has been a mess for a long time. Corrupt presidents going to jail, one even getting whacked by his own bodyguard. Which makes you think, who needs enemies when you've got Secret Service Squid Game edition? And then the fertility crisis, apparently the worst in the world. The country is literally dying while we're all busy streaming K-pop videos. Which is kind of like throwing a rave in a burning building. Fun, but not exactly a long-term plan. Meanwhile, we've got 28,000 troops sitting there. Because nothing says independence like having America as your roommate who pays the rent, buys the groceries, and still gets yelled at for leaving socks on the floor. And Cheryl jumps in, tariffs, shipbuilding, China. Basically, if it sounds boring at a cocktail party, it's suddenly top of the agenda in Washington. South Korea's president is even going to Philly Shipyard, which is adorable, like bringing your prom date to a junkyard to show you're serious about cars. And then the money talk. Billions invested, energy deals, CEOs from Samsung, Hyundai, LG, basically the Avengers, but with semiconductors. You just know Joe Biden's going to walk into that meeting and say, hey, I love your microwaves. But the big theme here, South Korea spends 2.3% on defense. Trump wants 5%. Translation, stop free riding, guys. America's tired of being the world's babysitter. Which is true, except like any babysitter, we still secretly like the cash. And oh yeah, China's red tide. Forget hurricanes, pandemics, or UFOs. This is the new thing we're supposed to panic about. But hey, don't worry. The same people who can't fix potholes at home swear they'll handle Beijing. So apparently China's rising red tide is the new doomsday scenario. Forget climate change, murder hornets, or AI stealing your job. It's Beijing with missiles, space lasers, and TikTok filters. And while Washington obsesses over Ukraine and the Middle East, China's out there building a military that looks like it was ordered off Amazon Prime. Sea, air, cyber, AI, 2-day shipping included. Meanwhile, South Korea's like, don't look at China, look at North Korea. They're scary too. Yeah, scary in the same way your drunk uncle at Christmas is scary. Loud, unpredictable, and probably holding a bottle rocket. And of course, South Korea doesn't want to pay for its own defense. They want us to cover it like Prince Harry and Meghan with security, except instead of chicken coops and fake Netflix kitchens, it's missiles and tanks. Honestly, same energy. The U.S. wants strategic flexibility. Translation. We'd like to move our troops around instead of playing statue in Korea for 70 years. Makes sense at some point. Even babysitters want to leave the house. Then there's the drama. Japan and South Korea hate each other, but both need us. It's like two exes who despise each other, but keep showing up at the same party because we brought the beer. And now Trump's saying, pay more, defend yourselves, also buy $100 billion of our energy. Basically the world's most aggressive Costco membership pitch. And let's not ignore the personal dynamic. Trump goes on Truth Social calling South Korea's politics a purge or revolution right before meeting their president at the White House. That's like texting your date, you look worse than your profile pic on the way to the restaurant. Bold move. But sure, we'll get geopolitical and financial repercussions. Me, I just hope my K-Beauty Snail Slime Serum doesn't skyrocket in price. Because if global security depends on a 25-step skincare routine, then yes, we really are doomed.